Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today we are going to be doing the A to Z book survey tag. I haven't done a tag video in a long time and I thought this one was really cool and in-depth and actually informative to you guys. So it's a long one because there's 26 questions for every letter of the alphabet. So let's just get stuck in. A is for an author you've read the most. This is an easy one for me. It is Lemony Snicket. There is 13 books in the series Unfortunate Fence series. I have read them all at least twice. But yeah, I think 13 books by the one author trumps everything else. B is for the best sequel ever. For this, I'm going to pick Dream Thieves, which is the second in the Raven Cycle series, and it is by far my favourite of the whole series. I love it. It was such a page turner. I thought that the concept, that I can't really say because I spoiled, but the concept of magic that is unveiled within the book is just awesome. I was completely hooked and I love it. C is for currently reading. I am currently reading Olga de Polga by Michael Bond, who wrote the Paddington Bear books. This is a bit of an odd one. Check out my last Novelty Chats episode 2 to hear more about why I'm reading this book and what it means to me, but this is what I'm currently reading as of filming this video. D is for a drink of choice when reading. Tea. Drink of choice when anything is tea. E is for ebook or physical book. Physical book, hands down, no question, but I do enjoy the occasional ebook when I get round to it. F is for a fictional character that you probably would have dated or want to date in high school. And this is going to be an answer for a lot of these, I feel. But Sherlock Holmes, who wouldn't want to date Sherlock Holmes? Maybe a bit old for a high school girl, but definitely my type. And smart. It's hard to beat. G is for glad you gave this book a chance. This is a book that I read purely because of a recommendation off BookTube. I don't even remember whose channel I heard it on, but I heard it and marked it as one to read. And actually I think I went on Amazon like straight away and it was cheap and I just got it. The Circle by Dave Eggers. It's phenomenal. It's a current 1984. It's set in a technological company. It sort of deals with sort of Big Brother, with all this technology in our pockets. Do we really have privacy anymore? It is beautifully written and really thought-provoking. Which is for a hidden gem book. I chose The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This is sort of a fairy tale where the goblins try to overthrow humans, and Princess Irene and her friend Kirby figure out the plan and try to alert the king and stop it from happening. It's a gorgeous fairy tale. It's very well written. George MacDonald, a lot of people don't know, was a lot of influence on both C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. They both said that George MacDonald was a huge sort of personal and professional impact on their life, but he is not well known at all, and I love his work, and this is my favourite one. It's so cute, it's so well illustrated, but it is absolutely falling apart every time I open it. The spine cracks, but my pages are falling out and everything, but you can see it's illustrated. And yeah, I just love this book. The cat in this is called Turnip, and so is my cat, named after this book. This is how much I love this book. I is for important moment in your reading life, and there was a couple that I could have chose from, but I think finding BookTube was a big turning point for me. I don't really have a lot of readers in my life who read as ferociously as I now do, so I wasn't reading as much back then. I didn't have people to talk to about books. It sort of then ebbed my enthusiasm for it because it was solitary activity that I couldn't even tell anyone about, but now I can get on here and discuss it. It's really motivated me to read again and sort of sparked my love for reading again in my adult life when I had laid it down for a number of years. So finding BookTube definitely enthused my reading life, got me motivated, gave me really good recommendations that got me back into reading, and also showed me that as someone who likes to read a lot of middle grade as an adult, like, that's totally okay. There's lots of people who like to do that, and it showed me that it's okay really to read what you want. J is for just finished. I just finished rereading Mrs. Frisby and the Rats in NIMH. This is one of my top favourite books of all time. If you've seen the movie The Secret of NIMH, you'll know the general storyline. It is about rats who were experimented on by the National Institute of Mental Health and have become smart and start up their own little civilization. K is for kind of books you won't read. There's nothing that I won't read, but romance is not something that I go to. I don't even really like romance in a book. It has to be done extremely well and be like a subplot. I find a lot in books in general, romance or not, no matter what's happening in the person's life, there's always a romance starting, and I would like to see more books where as a subplot they're moving in with a partner for the first time, or getting married, or married with kids and are just going through the sort of normal couple life. I feel like every time a book approaches romance, it's always a brand new romance, and that doesn't really do it for me. L is for the longest book you have ever read. If this counts, it would again be my Sherlock Holmes bind up at over 1,500 pages. But that is different books just bound up. So if you're talking about physical books, is this. If it's one book standalone, probably Order of the Phoenix would be the longest. M is for major book hangover. I don't think I've ever experienced a book so good or bad that it has prevented me from picking something else up straight afterwards. N is for number of bookcases you own. I don't really know how to answer this question. I have this, which is like built in. So I'm not sure how that counts. Then I have another one built in, and those are my two sort of novel ones. Then I've got two bookshelves, like wall-mounted shelves. And then in our spare room, my boyfriend has a bookshelf, which is just all his. And then down in our living room, we have a bookshelf, which is used for reference professional books. So if you counted built in, two shelves, spare room, downstairs, it's 5. But as to proper bookshelf units that I use myself, 2. O is for the one book that you've read multiple times. I would say 2 are near enough draw for this question, so it's not really one book. If I had to choose one, it would be, again, Hound of the Baskervilles. It's probably my favourite book of all time. It's definitely my favourite Sherlock Holmes mystery. I absolutely love the story, the tale, the characters, the suspense, the writing, just everything about it I love. But a close second would have to be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I also love this book. The writing, the characters, the premise, the thought behind it, and the sass of the characters. So definitely between these two. I would say between the two of them, I've probably read them like at least 50 times, easily. P is for preferred place to read. I don't have one. This room is like a converted attic cum study cum spare bedroom. I call it my relax room. I like to read here. I'll read in bed, I'll read in the sofa, I'll read at the dining room table, I'll read in a coffee shop, I'll read in the park. It really doesn't matter to me where I read, as long as I'm semi-comfortable, I'll read anywhere. Q is for a quote that inspired you from a book that you've read. Normally I don't pick out quotes from books. I would never underline them or copy them out. I would think about them and maybe flick back, and look while I'm reading the book, look at them again. But there are a couple through my reading life that has There is a couple through my reading life that have stuck out to me. And I would say my personal favourite is from The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. And it is, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that's sort of just the power of one person and speaking your mind and doing what you think is right. And there could be 100 people that want the same change as you, but unless someone starts it, nothing's going to happen. And I think that's a really powerful quote, especially to have in a children's book. R is for reading regret. My reading regret through my whole reading life would be in high school. In high school, I really stopped reading practically altogether. Certainly not in public or anywhere near school or near anyone who could possibly know me from school. I read a bit like late at night or over the summer, but that was mostly due to I had a couple of remarks, but I felt like I was being judged for my reading tastes. They wouldn't have been conventional teenage girls' tastes. They would have been either older material, like classics like Jane Austen or Shakespeare, or they would have been a lot younger books. Like I read the series Unfortunate Events. I didn't read those until I was about 15, 16. And I remember reading one in school one day and a boy came up to me and said, "You're only reading those now. I read those when like I was 8. Are you retarded or something?" Like so horrible. I am dyslexic and there is no way I could have read the series before the age of about 15 or 16 at all. But I got a couple of comments like that in school and around school or in English class voicing opinion of books that I liked, and it really put me off reading. And I wish it hadn't, because I missed out on a lot of years of reading the sort of books that I love. But now I'm doing catch up and I'm going to get through all the books and I'm ready. S is for a series that you started and you need to finish, that all the books are out right now. Let me reach for this bad boy. The Heroes of Olympus series, all of them are out. I'm getting them out of the library. This is the 4th out of 5. I haven't started it yet, so I've only this one and the final one to go. And I really need to get on to it. I'm taking them slow. I whizzed through Percy Jackson, but I'm not whizzing through this. I think it's A, they're really chunky, and B, there's a lot of points of view in this book, and that sort of puts me off a book. I'm really loving the story and the characters, but the previous book to this was told from 7 different points of view and it flipped back and forth, and for me it was too much. I think this book is going to be a couple less points of view because the group sort of split, so I'm hoping it focuses in on one group and there's maybe less in it. But yeah, that sort of put me off, the fact that they're big, and I don't like the multiple point of view thing, but I'm loving the characters and I'm loving the story, and I want to find out what happens and get this finished definitely by the end of the year. T is for 3 of your favourite books of all time. This one isn't too hard for me because last week I done Top 5 Wednesdays, which was your 5 favourite books, and out of the 5 I just had to whittle it down to 3. All of them I've already talked about in this tag. There's Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. You, an unapologetic fangirl for. This I had to really think about. I love Harry Potter, I love Series of Unfortunate Events, but like I don't think you have to be unapologetic like for anything. I would say now, if I had to say something relating back to my reading regret about school, not reading what I wanted, I would say middle grade. Like, I love middle grade, I love children's books, I read them all the time for pleasure, and I've got to the point where I'm no longer ashamed of that. Fee is very excited for this release. I don't really get excited for releases. I don't tend to buy new releases. I buy all of my books secondhand. So new releases is something you can't get secondhand. I don't really look forward to them. And I tend not to pick up series unless the full series is out so that I can read them at the pace that I like rather than the pace that they're published. W is for the worst bookish habit. I don't think I have one. I was going to say buying a lot of books, but I actually don't think that's a bad habit. Like, I'm not going to apologise for buying lots of books. Like, I do read them and I enjoy them, and as I said, I get them all secondhand, so it's not breaking the bank. I don't like dog ear or loose books, or no, I don't think I would have one. X is for X marks the spot. go to your top left hand side of your bookshelf and pick out the 27th book. I have pre-prepared this. My 27th book going across was October Skies by Alex Scarrow. Again, I picked this up secondhand. I don't know a lot about it. I have not read it yet. I'm saving it for October. But it says in like the middle of the 1800s, there is sort of like a group of settlers in a wagon, and they go into this forest and they don't come out. And then in modern day, which is when this book was written, was 2008, somebody finds like a part of the wagon and digs it up, and there is a perfectly preserved journal in it that sort of tells about the group, what's happened, why are they stuck, like one's getting picked off, who do they think or what do they think is killing them. The whole, like, there was 100 and something odd people died, and it sort of flicks back between the journal and our main character in current day trying to work out what happened. I think it's gonna be ooky spooky. Yeah, I'm saving it for Halloween. Y is for your latest book purchase, and I think by looking at my shelves and scanning to memory, it was this edition of Little Women. I have never read Little Women. I know the story very well. I've seen multiple TV movie adaptations, but I've never actually read the book. And I picked this one up at a charity shop for 50p, so I couldn't not. And finally, Said is for Said Snatcher, or the last book that kept you up way too late. For this, I couldn't think of a specific one. I'm not the type of person who, I was going to say have a bedtime, like I'm not saying that like everyone has a bedtime, but my sleeping patterns vary. My work is on, off, and I have a different sort of working pattern every week, so it's hard for me to tell what's late, because if I'm working the next day, like 10 could be late depending on what time I have to get up. But if I'm not working the next day, like 2 o'clock in the morning or later would not be uncommon for me. Like I wasn't working today. Last night I was up to like 5 a.m. Like, it totally depends for me. My sleeping patterns shift so much. So, I don't really know. But if I had to pick something, I would say not specifically this book, but definitely some Rick Riordan books in the past. I felt tired and thought, no, one more chapter. Definitely these would be high up there. I tend not to read when I'm really sleepy. I tend to, once I start to feel sleepy, switch from a book to an audio book or booktube videos or something. But I would say definitely a couple of Rick Riordan books have probably kept me up 10 or 20 minutes longer than I should have been. And that is the A to Z book tag survey thing. I'll link the original down below so you can go and check that out if you want to have a look at it. I hope you enjoyed this. It's probably going to be really long by the time I get it edited, but sure, it's all a bit of fun. I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and I hope to see you in my next video. Goodbye!